Hey, I'm Steve Magnante here in Bogart, Georgia at the Tony Townley Collection, where on October 24th and 25th, 2025, Richmond Auctions will be selling right around 100 specialty interest vehicles, some of them at no reserve. This is something very unusual. It's a 1907 Chase flower delivery van. You wonder, what is Chase? Well, they were in business in Syracuse, New York from 1907 through 1919, and this 1907 makes it one of the first years that Chase was in operation. Now, very unusual vehicle from the transitional years where horse-drawn carriages and air-cooled gas-burning engines merged to take the load off the horse and make delivery a little bit easier. Has an air-cooled two-cylinder engine under this steel hood. The rest of the vehicle is made of wood. The frame rails, the body, the cowl, all of that is wood. Of course, the leaf springs and the axles are made of steel, but again, an interesting merge of the horseless carriage and the horse-drawn carriage for hauling things around. This was designed for use bringing flowers to customers from the flower shop, maybe home deliveries on Mother's Day, etc. And it's a great example of the breed. It has chain drive after the gas-burning air-cooled two-cylinder engine gets the power to the rear, chains on each side, and brakes on the rear. And of course, kerosene lamps here for nighttime deliveries, not wires, not acetylene, that's kerosene. You fill these with oil, light them off, and you can see somewhat going down the road. And of course, for driver protection on rainy days, we have a plastic sheet right here, which would keep some of the snow and rain off the driver's face. But anyway, off you would go delivering the flowers. And this vehicle was an AACA first place national winner in 1988. So it's been judged and determined to be a great example of the breed. Wood spoke wheels, hard rubber tires. So if you want to flashback in time to 1907, what it would have been like to deliver flowers to mom on Mother's Day, would happen in one of these. So bid strong, it's an interesting piece of nostalgia. Hey, I'm Steve Magnante here in Bogart, Georgia at the Tony Townley Collection, which will be sold by Richmond Auctions on October 24th and 25th, 2025. A wide variety of vehicles will be offered, many of them at no reserve, including this 1911 Jackson Model 50 7-passenger touring. Now, this is from the brass era of vehicles from before World War I, again, 1911. And again, brass is the rule on these, the headlights, the structures, the hinges, and even the ornament on the top of the hood. And these are called carbide lamps right here. They're not electric. What they have is basically a thing called a Prestolite unit right here. Carbide pellets mixed with water to create acetylene, which then is pumped into the lamps here and on the front of the car to light the way down the road. So this is before electricity. So again, rudimentary transportation circa 1911. Little leaf springs all the way around, fully elliptic leaf springs front and rear, and the speedometer on this car was an accessory. There's a little gear right here which runs a cable that feeds the speedometer drive here. So going down the road, the speedometer is inside the car, fed by a sprocket here. So again, very rudimentary, but a great example of a Jackson. And again, Jackson made cars between 1902 and 1923, based in Jackson, Michigan, thus the name Jackson. And really fantastic example of the breed. Beautifully restored, the paint, the fenders, the wood on the wheels, everything, the tires, all like new, circa 1911. And these had 4-cylinder, 50 horsepower engines, and brakes on the rear wheels only. But remember, back in 1911, most highways weren't even highways, they were dirt roads, so average speed might be 15 miles per hour, so speeding wasn't an issue. And again, these are very rudimentary. Again, starting these involved a crankshaft or a crank on the front. Kick it over down here, just make sure it's ratcheted properly, and off you go with your acetylene lights lighting the way as you head down the road at 12 miles per hour. So bid strong on this car. This is a great car for a museum. It's an attention getter no matter where it goes. Hey, I'm Steve Magnante here in Bogart, Georgia at the Tony Townley Collection, where on October 24th and 25th, Richmond Auctions will be selling over 100 vehicles, many of them at no reserve. One of the more unusual vehicles is this 1912 Autocar 12-passenger omnibus. These are popular with city transit departments and hotels and any place that needed to haul a bunch of people around in some degree of comfort and style. And with that said, I think comfort's a relative term. Leaf springs all the way around, live axles all the way around, minimal suspension, hard rubber tires. But again, this is what mass transit looked like in 1912. Now, Autocar was founded in 1897 in Pennsylvania. It's still active today. It's America's oldest still functioning automotive or automobile manufacturer, mechanical tractor manufacturer, trucks and trailers too. So with that said, this is a wooden frame and body. Yes, the frame is made of wood. The body is also fabricated of wood, and a nice restoration. This was part of the Henry Austin Clark collection for over 30 years, and Henry Austin Clark is a pioneering antique vehicle collector, and when he bought something, you know it was a special vehicle. This was in his museum for many years as well in New Jersey, I believe, and just a great example of the breed. All the good stuff is on it. The acetylene headlight right here, all the brass fittings and features, and yes, it's a hand cranker right here, so eat your Wheaties before you drive this one. And it's a handful to drive, but it's also a handful to own, which is a great thing because this is something you could put into a museum anywhere, and it would be pretty much the showpiece of a museum. So bid strong, 1912 mass transit on display right here, coming to your driveway or your garage. Hey, I'm Steve Magnante here in Bogart, Georgia at the Tony Townley Collection, where on October 24th and 25th, 2025, Richmond Auctions will be conducting a two-day sale of about 100 or so specialty interest vehicles, some of it no reserve. This is a 1913 Ford Model T hook and ladder truck based on a 1913 Ford chassis with the brass radiator right there, which was used through 1915 on Model Ts. And great recreation, not a recreation, basically it's a repurposing of a Model T chassis with an aftermarket conversion for hook and ladder use. It has acetylene lamps right here, which are Ford items, a brass Ford horn here, which is electric. And of course, here is another brass item. There's an electric spotlight right here to light the way as the go up the tree to get the cat out of the woods, up out of the branches, or to illuminate the second floor of a building that might be on fire. And of course, a couple of 8-foot fire ladders right here, one on each side. Brass bell to alert people that you're on your way to put the fire out, get out of the way. And in the back here, several feet of canvas and rubber fire hoses, which you hook up to the fire hydrant on the sidewalk to extinguish the flames. And with that said, it's a great example of how fires were put out on a small scale back in 1913 before American LaFrance diesel-powered hook and ladder trucks came onto the scene in 1940s, 50s, and beyond. But this is how firefighting was done in 1913. Great piece for a museum, bid strong. Hey, I'm Steve Magnante here in Bogart, Georgia at the Tony Townley Collection, which on October 24th and 25th will be sold at auction by Richmond Auctions. About 100 vehicles, some of them being sold at no reserve, including this 1913 Interstate Model 45. If you've never heard of an Interstate, there's a company that was based in Muncie, Indiana from 1909 through 1919. They built about 8,182 cars. And this is one of only 2 restored Model 45s known to exist on the planet. It's a very unusual vehicle. It's a classic example of brass-era automotive engineering. And of course, it has a 6-cylinder engine here with twin plugs, meaning 2 spark plugs per cylinder, so it's 12 plugs for the 6-cylinder engine. It has a hand crank at the front and has electric lighting, I should say, versus the acetylene cobalt type stuff that would have been used earlier than this. But the electric lights were a big deal in 1913. And also brakes at the back, internal drum brakes, which is kind of unusual. Most cars had external clamping brakes at the back, so this is pretty advanced for its time. Interstate was located in Muncie, Indiana, and again, beautiful restoration on this one here, wooden wheels, nicely rendered. Spokes are well cared for and well preserved, and of course the steel bodywork on this well done. And of course, it's a 7-passenger car, 2 up front, 3 in the back, plus 2 jump seats right here. And of course, a metal skin with a wooden inner structure. It has a speedometer, so you can go down the road. And back then, the roads might have been good for like 20 miles an hour at max. So these would have been probably 15 or 20 mile an hour cars. Country roads were kind of lumpy, but again, a nice restoration of a car that would have been seen back in the day. And again, only 8,182 cars built between 1909 and 1919 by the Interstate Company. This is a Model 45. Take a peek at the engine. Again, a 6-cylinder engine with twin plugs per cylinder, which is kind of advanced. And just make sure that the spark is effective, and here it is right there. It's a cast end block. The crank and the heads cylinder bores are cast together. Kind of an interesting piece, but again, 2 plugs per cylinder. Nicely rendered, gray marine paint on the external. 4-speed manual transmission on this one here. So a nice example of brass era motoring. So bid accordingly. Every museum needs a brass era car. Maybe yours. Hey, I'm Steve Magnante here in Bogart, Georgia at the Tony Townley Collection, which we sold on October 24th and 25th by Richmond Auctions in its entirety. And one of the interesting cars is this 1917 Cadillac V8 Roadster rumble seat, a very uncommon body style. And keep in mind that Cadillac was the world's first producer of mass-produced V8 engines in America, perhaps the world, but certainly in America. Henry Ford brought the flathead out in 1932, but Cadillac had V8s with flatheads way back into this era right here, 1917 right here. Great example of the breed. Nicely restored car. The wooden wheels are correct and nicely, again, restored. Beautiful piece right here. But the money on this car is in two places. Under the hood, of course, the 317 cubic inch flathead Cadillac V8 engine, standard fare, and on the grill has Cadillac V8 right there. And of course, Cadillac was and is, they would tell you, believe, the standard of the world. At this point in time, Cadillac was pretty much the premier mark in luxury cars globally. And this one here also has the roadster body style. A lot of fun, put the top down. And if you have some friends who want to ride along, they can ride in the back on the rumble seat at the back of the car. Now, unlike a lot of cars of this era with acetylene lights, this has electric headlights and marker lights and electric start, which are standard features on the Cadillac, which of course is and was the standard of the world. Hey, I'm Steve Magnante in Bogart, Georgia at the Tony Townley Collection, where on October 24th and 25th, 2025, just over 100 special interest vehicles will be auctioned by Richmond Auctions, many of them at no reserve. Now, there's a common phrase in auto collecting, ain't it a doozy? Well, this is a doozy, a Duesenberg 1929 dual cowl Model J phaeton. And one thing special about this car is it has a custom body by Durham, and it's one of two short wheelbase cars that were built by Durham into dual cowl phaetons. Short wheelbase car has a shorter wheelbase and basically a more sporting package all the way around. Better handling for a car of this size. But with that said, these Duesenbergs have very exotic engines, dual overhead cam inline six with 265 horsepower out of 420 cubic inches, all aluminum construction, and again, dual overhead cams, very advanced stuff. And of course, Augie and Fred Duesenberg, the brothers, were race car builders, and of course, they built street cars as well, cars like this. It's a 3-speed manual transmission with adjustable hydraulic brakes. There's a knob on the dash, which you can set the brake sensitivity from high to medium, and it's basically adaptive braking circa 1929, very advanced car for its day. When it was new, this was similar to $1 million car today. And back in 1929, on the eve of the Great Depression, this would have been a car for the ultimate, fat cat, rich guy, but a great car, beautifully restored by RM Restorations about 10 years ago. It's also on display at the Imperial Palace Collection in Las Vegas. This car also has some movie star credibility and history. 1966, this car was moved in the Elvis Presley movie Spin Out, where it towed a trailer on which was a Cobra race car. So this car, you can look it up on Google and on YouTube, and you can actually see this car being used in the Elvis Presley movie Spin Out with a Cobra on a trailer, and a very exotic tow truck, if you will, right here. But a great example right here, fully restored. This one was also shown in the 1929 West Coast Auto Salon in San Francisco, I believe. And the beauty of this car, again, is the fact that it's beautifully restored right back to square one. And inside, of course, the leather upholstery here, bench seat up front, 3-speed manual on the floor, and in the back, room for 2 or 3, and the rear window here goes up or down with a hand crank, which was a Durham custom touch. It was only found on 2 of these cars. Again, Durham built 2 short wheelbase Model Js in 1929. This is one of them, and a beautiful example of the breed, highly restored, bid strong. This is a classic, might even break some world records. It's a doozy. Hey, I'm Steve Magnante in Bogart, Georgia at the Tony Townley Collection, which we sold in its entirety on October 24th and 25th by Richmond Auctions. One thing that I'm really interested in is this 1927 Ford Model T. Of course, the Ford Model T was Ford's first mass-produced car, and many say it was the car that put the country and the world on wheels. Inexpensive to buy, reliable to drive and operate. And this one here is a 1927, the final year for the Model T before the Model A replaced it in 1928 with a more evolved design in so many ways. Again, Model T's rear brakes only, no front brakes on these, but again, a beautiful restoration here. Now, they used to say that Ford Model Ts were available in any color you wanted as long as it was black. Not so fast. This is a two-tone car with a rich green and black two-tone paint scheme on this one. And again, this has electric lights, which were a factory option. And this is an open-top roadster, if you will, a phaeton, as it were, ready to be enjoyed. Manual transmission, of course, the planetary transmission. Takes a little bit of learning to do, but if you Google it, Model T, you'll be able to learn how to drive this with quite ease. Starting comes out to the hand crank here, so make sure you eat your Cheerios or your Wheaties in the morning. But again, a beautiful example here of the final year for the Model T, the car that put America on wheels. Hey, I'm Steve Magnante here in Bogart, Georgia at the Tony Townley Collection, where on October 24th and 25th, Richmond Auctions will be selling all of the vehicles, some of them at no reserve. one of the vehicles that I'm looking forward to seeing is this 1928 LaSalle Model 303 dual cowl phaeton. Now 303 refers to the cubic inch displacement of its flathead V8 under that hood right there. The styling on these cars was done by Harley Earl, legendary GM stylist who had started GM's Department of Art in Color, which basically was responsible for these cars and many other GM styling breakthroughs in succeeding years. Now, this car was basically launched in 1927, LaSalle brand, as a junior companion to Cadillac with as much style and fashion, but with a lower price point. Now, great things we see on this one here are optional side mount spares on both sides, a little extra cost. A passenger side spotlight, also extra cost. Classic things to add. The LaSalle mascot here, sort of a mermaid, enjoying a trip down the road atop the radiator. And of course, electric start, electric headlights, all those things are on this one. No more acetylene at this point in time. Again, 1928. And there were only 13 of these cars built in 1928 by Harley Earl's plant, if you will, by GM. And only 2 of those are left, known to exist. So this is one of them. And the great thing about this is the Classic Car Club of America recognizes the 303 dual cowl phaeton as a full classic, which means you can attend car shows in the full classic category and compete for trophies. The car has, again, 303 cubic inch flathead V8, 3-speed manual, and a great example of the breed. LaSalle aimed for Cadillac buyers, but at a lower price point, but the same Cadillac style and quality. A great restoration on this one here, correct interior and exterior, and inside the back seat, there are a couple of jump seats for 3 plus 2 in the front, plus 2 more, occasional passengers. So a great example of the breed right here, a true classic, a full classic. So bid strong, it's a good one. Hey, I'm Steve Magnante in Bogart, Georgia at the Tony Townley Collection, where on October 24th and 25th of 2025, Richmond Auctions is going to conduct a sale of over 100 special interest vehicles, most of them being sold at no reserve. One of the special cars I'm looking forward to is this 1930 Cadillac V16 Fleetwood dual cowl phaeton. Now, of course, 1929 or 1930 was the first year for the Cadillac V16. Great engine, 45-degree V, a narrow V, which allowed for a narrower hood. And this is the first engine to be styled by the designers. It has a lot of black enamel surfaces. All of the wires are covered and hidden from view. A lot of chromed nuts and things, fasteners on the side. So the engine is styled as much as the body and the rest of the car. And speaking of the body, this is a Fleetwood body. Now, Cadillac Fleetwood has been the top of the line since its inception, and even to the 70s and 80s, the Fleetwood was the top of the line Cadillac. Well, Fleetwood was a Pennsylvania-based body manufacturer which would build custom bodies for Cadillac and other manufacturers, but body by Fleetwood starts right here. Now, the bodies on these has a steel skin from here, and of course the cowl and the hood are also, and the fenders are also steel. But inside the body here is a wooden framework, heavy wood, and these were very heavy vehicles, like 6 tons. It was not an uncommon number with these things, fully loaded with people. That's why you had to have 320 foot-pounds of torque to motivate this down the road. And he's have a 3-speed manual transmission, and it made so much torque, 320 foot-pounds, that you leave this thing in drive in 3rd gear and putter around town without having to downshift. So quite a very flexible thing. This does have some aftermarket goodies, dress up, chrome spoke wheels with stainless steel spokes, not something the factory would have installed, but again, a nice eye appeal item. Big chrome headlights, and of course the chrome Cadillac V16 logo right here. And again, V16, 16 cylinders, also known as the Cadillac 16. Inside, dual cowl, plenty of room for people up front and in the back. And the speedometers in these go to 120 miles per hour. And I say speedometers because there's one up front and one at the back for the rear seat passengers to understand how quickly they're going. And it says 120, 90 is more like it, but 90 miles an hour, this is going pretty quick. And the back seat area has room for 3 across, and here's a dual cowl, a window that goes up or down. It's retractable for privacy and or wind protection at speed. And again, 90 miles an hour in this with the top down would be a heck of a ride. And this is going to sell at the auction on October 24th or 25th, 2025, and be a strong bidder. These are world-class collector cars. If your collector doesn't have one of these, it needs to have one, and this is one of the best. Hey, I'm Steve Magnante here in Bogart, Georgia at the Tony Townley Collection, where on October 24th and 25th, 2025, Richmond Auctions will be selling a little over 100 special interest vehicles, many of them at no reserve. And something very unusual is this 1931 Ford Model A 400A. It's a 2-door hardtop convertible. What that means is basically the door frames and the window frames are fixed. They're made of steel, but the top is retractable. So basically it's a fun car in the summertime, but a weather-tight car when it's rainy or in the wintertime. Very uncommon body style, the most rare of all Model A's. A total of 4,865 were built in 1931, the one and only year the 400A body style was available, and apparently only 397 are still registered in existence to this day. It's a 100-point restoration by a professional restoration shop. Accessories include the dual side mount spares, of course, and the cowl lights, the flying quail hood ornament, the radiator dust guard, stone guard, and again, a beautiful restoration of a very clean car, all steel, and a great example of the breed. And again, this one has a factory heater inside, which is a very cool thing, especially with the top down on a cool spring or fall day. So again, the one and only year for the Model 400A, bid accordingly. It's a very rare vehicle, the most rare Model A of them all. Hey, I'm Steve Magnante here in Bogart, Georgia at the Tony Townley Collection, where on October 24th and 25th, 2025, a little over 100 collector cars will be auctioned by Richmond Auctions, many of them at no reserve. One of the top sellers, or one of the top vehicles, will be this 1931 Lincoln Model K dual cowl phaeton. Beautiful restoration of one of these exclusive vehicles. And again, the dual cowl phaeton involves a cowl here at the front for the driver and passenger, and a second cowl here for the back seat passengers, including its own windshield and wind slits, so that when you go down the road with the top down, you'll get bugs in your face as the back seat passengers. You can get 2 people up front, 3 in the back, and there's 2 jump seats in the front, so you have auxiliary seating for other people who want to ride along. Additions to this one here, factory options, are dual spare tires, side mount spares, and of course the legendary headlights. These are electric, no acetylene here, totally modern electric stuff. Dual horns, again electric horns. The beautiful Greyhound mascot, cribbed by Ford years later on a 34 Ford, but with that said, beautiful design, leaf springs all the way around, mechanical brakes, but they're cable operated, they're tough, they get the job done, and in total 3,556 Model Ks were built in 1931, which was the first year for the Model K, which lived on until 1940 in various forms, but again, 1931 first year for the Model K, as we see it here. This is the biggest, most expensive of the breed, the dual cowl phaeton. Beautiful restoration, V12 power, bid accordingly. It's an American classic. Hey, Steve Magnante here in Bogart, Georgia at the Tony Townley Collection, which will be sold by Richmond Auctions on October 24th and 25th, 2025. And the collection consists of muscle cars, trucks, tractors, and special interest antique cars like this 1931 Lincoln Model K. It's a 4-door sedan, as it were, and has the V8, a 384 cubic inch V8 on a 145-inch wheelbase. 1931 was the first year for the Model K, which was basically Lincoln's premier luxury car, going up against the Duesenberg Model J and the Packard 8 in the highly contested luxury field of the 1930s and late 20s. But again, 3-speed manual transmission, no automatics at this point in time. Very analog. Everything in this is built for driving. Sometimes the chauffeur would do the hard work. The passengers would ride in the back with plenty of room. This is a 4-door, we can see here. And in Lincoln tradition, and also Ford tradition, what they call suicide doors, the front doors open traditionally here. The back doors open outward like this for easier entry and egress for the people who might ride in the back of a large stately car like this one. Beautifully restored. All of the woodwork is nicely done by cabinet makers, and again, these have steel skins and cowls, but inside structures are actually made of wood, and the top is made of fabric. But again, those things are tricky to restore, but they've been done very well on this example. It's a museum piece of the first order. Great example of the breed. Model K in its first year, 1931. Bid accordingly. Hey, I'm Steve Magnante here in Bogart, Georgia at the Tony Townley Collection, which will be sold on October 24th and 25th, 2025 by Richmond Auctions. Just about 100 specialty cars will be auctioned, and one of them is this 1931 Pierce Arrow 7-passenger phaeton. Now, in the 1920s and 30s, the 3 Ps were America's most important luxury cars that consist of Peerless, Packard, and Pierce Arrow. These are built in Buffalo, New York, and this one is a massive example of the breed. Again, 7 passengers, long wheelbase car, and this was sold new to Alta Rockefeller Prentice, who is the daughter of John D. Rockefeller of the Standard Oil dynasty. So some money in these cars. This has been restored lightly. It's a great driver. It's ready to run and be in parades. And this car was, in fact, used in many parades and spent some time at the Hera Museum in Las Vegas, Nevada. And it could be in your museum at some point if you bid successfully. Now we see on this one the beautiful chrome work, the headlights, the bumpers, and even the Pierce Arrow Archer right here, a piece of sculpture and, of course, artistry of automotive legend. And under the hood here is an 8-cylinder Lycoming flathead. A lot of power and torque to move this car down the road. Massive 11-inch drum brakes all the way around. Cable operated, but again, plenty of brakes to slow this car down from a full trot. And inside, of course, there's room for 2 up front, 3 at the very back, plus 2 more here. The jump seats to fold down when they're not needed. So that's 7 passengers right there. Top comes all the way back. And again, it's a 4-door Phaeton, the best vehicle for being seen in a parade and just really enjoying a summer day with your friends and family. So this car will be auctioned on October 24th or 25th, 2025. And may the best bid win. Hey, I'm Steve Magnante here in Bogart, Georgia at the Tony Townley Collection, where on October 24th and 25th, 2025, Richmond Auctions will conduct a 2-day sale on about 100 collector cars and special interest vehicles. Now, back in the 1920s and 30s, the American luxury market was dominated by the 3 Ps: Packard, Pierce Arrow, and Peerless. This is a Pierce Arrow, a 1931 Pierce Arrow dual cowl Phaeton. And something about Pierce Arrows, they sort of were very well known for their fender-mounted headlights. They were optional, although most people went for it. The standard headlight was a drum-type affair mounted on a crossbar, but these are much more artistic. And again, most people went for the external trumpet face horn or headlight. And in fact, if you look at this, there's no hole under here. This is something that was welded on or brazed on by the Peerless people in Buffalo, New York, where these were built, and then craftily leaded in there. There's no seam, there's no scar, and just really nice workmanship. A big straight 8 flathead under here, and of course the Pierce Arrow logo, the mascot right there, the archer with the arrow in effect. One of the more attractive hood mascots of American automotive history. Now, getting inside this car, we'll see that it is the dual cowl, windshield here, and a windshield in the back. And of course, a bit of a cowl, a firewall, or whatever, between the front and rear areas. Room for 2 in the front and 3 in the back. And again, these are articulate. You can move these things around to protect your passengers from wind, noise, and mussing the hair, etc. Dual side mount spare tires. And again, the American Classics, this is one of those cars. It's legitimate in the Antique Automobile Society of America, or Club of America. And this is valid for trophies and to be shown at national meets. Beautiful car, wonderful restoration, bid accordingly. Hey, I'm Steve Magnante here in Bogart, Georgia at the Tony Townley Collection, which on October 24th and 25th will be sold in a 2-day selling extravaganza by Richmond Auctions. Many of the vehicles at no reserve. Something special is this 1932 Ford 5-window rumble seat coupe. It's built in period correct style, circa like mid-1950s, all steel body. The fabric roof is correctly present, not filled in. Some people fill them in, but not here. All steel body here. Something special under the hood is the original flathead is long gone, replaced by a 270 cubic inch Dodge Red Ram. The baby Hemi, it's a Dodge engine, hemispherical combustion chambers, has a Offenhauser triple Stromberg carburetor, chromed headers coming out the sides with undercar exhaust that goes out the tail, but also caps right here if you want to uncork it at the car show and pick up another 20 horsepower and a bunch of decibels. Beautiful, sweet music. Hydraulic brake upgrade on this one too. No mechanical brakes anymore. Here are the hoses. Chromed dropped front axle. And chrome everywhere you look, probably at least $80,000 worth of chrome on this vehicle, no doubt. And a really nice showpiece, boxed frame, and a heavy-duty radiator, can be driven pretty much in parades and on the street without any overheating issues. And also a special thing about this car is that it was featured in Rod & Custom magazine, and here is the issue. And everybody wants to get the car in a magazine or on the cover, better yet. And here it is right here. This is the March 2005 issue of Rod & Custom, and there it is right there. Pride of place on the cover of the magazine, and a great thing to have a car like this showcased for the rest of the world to see. So it's a beauty. It's all steel, Red Ram Hemi. What could be better than this? Bid strong. Hey, I'm Steve Magnante here in Bogart, Georgia at the Tony Townley Collection, which will be sold in its entirety on October 24th and 25th by Richmond Auctions. And something kind of cool is this 1933 Ford Model BB 1.5-ton 6-wheel stake bed truck. Great example of the breed. It's fully restored. Now, it's based on a vehicle that lived its life in Southern California, very much rust-free, very much dry. It's been beautifully restored to factory condition. In fact, a lot better than that. Brewster green with black, and it's got the 1.5-ton suspension and wheels, and something very special. In its second year, the option of the Ford flathead V8, 221 cubic inches. The standard four-banger would be the base engine in these things, but with that V8 under the hood, you could live up to the truck's 1.5-ton hauling potential. And again, we see beautiful chrome headlights here. Bumpers have been beautifully restored and re-chromed. And again, that beautiful Ford grille, which we first saw in 1932, continued to 1933. Beautiful waterfall grille here. And nicely restored cab, steel roof on these, of course, no fabric on these up on the top. Some of the passenger cars did have fabric, but these are all steel construction in the roof. And beautiful inside, steps on the side here, cast aluminum Ford logos right here. And again, the bed has been done in oak by a cabinet shop. This was restored and refurbished and basically very much original to the way it looked when it was new. And of course, the sides come down. And a beautiful example inside, fully equipped, 3-speed manual transmission inside, no automatics at this point. Of course, the Power Stroke diesel was decades away. These are strictly gasoline vehicles. But again, nicely restored inside. All the surfaces are correctly presented. And there we have it right here. Second year for the flathead V8 in trucks. This is a 1933 Model BB 6-wheel stake truck, bid accordingly. Hey, I'm Steve Magnante here in Bogart, Georgia at the Tony Townley Collection, which we sold in its entirety on October 24th and 25th by Richmond Auctions. Just about 105, 110 vehicles, again, will all be sold October 24th, 25th. And one of the special cars I'm looking forward to seeing is this 1936 Ford Phaeton rumble seat. Beautiful little car. It's a nice restoration, very correctly presented. The Greyhound motif on the radiator right here, the V8 logo right here. Of course, Ford was the first company with a mass-produced, inexpensive V8 for the masses, 1932 onward. The flathead V8 kind of revolutionized hot rodding and the auto industry in so many ways. And here we have it here, the V8 logo. And of course, a 12-volt electrical system. 1936, a whole new style of the body on these cars. So it's streamlined headlight surrounds and beautiful car, chrome bumpers front and rear. And again, the money on these cars to me is the roadster body and of course the rumble seat. You can't deny the appeal of a rumble seat roadster. Doors come out here, lots of room inside for 3 people to sit across. 3-speed manual transmission. And here's the top, all presented, correctly restored. And here is the rumble seat right here. And on the passenger side of the car, the fender and the rear have little foot stands right here, so you can step up, get into the car rather than stepping on the fender itself. So a beautiful presented 1936 Ford rumble seat roadster. Hey, I'm Steve Magnante here in Bogart, Georgia at the Tony Townley Collection, where on October 24th and 25th, 2025, Richmond Auctions will be conducting a 2-day sale of over 100 specialty interest and collectible cars of many descriptions. One of the better ones I'm looking forward to seeing is this 1937 Ford Woody station wagon. This is from the Michael Dingman collection, and of course Michael Dingman collected all kinds of Ford memorabilia, including some of the best vehicles in history. This is a fully restored car. This car was built in Canada back in 1937 and features all the correct restoration procedures and materials. The body, the fabric roof, everything on this is correctly restored back to the way it was born back in 1937. It has a 221 cubic inch flathead V8, 3-speed manual on the floor, and of course a 2-speed Columbia rear axle. And a beautiful thing in 1937 was a total restyle of the front, the grille, inspired by the Lincoln Zephyr with the encased headlights here and the streamlined sort of, aerodynamic effect where 1936 had the exposed pods, but this is very much a streamlined nose, one of the best Ford grills in Ford history, really. And a great example of the breed, and only 9,304 Woody wagons were built all over the planet in 1937 by Ford Motor Company. So it's a great example of the breed, some of the best. And again, it's from the Michael Dingman collection, and Michael Dingman didn't discriminate. He got the best of the best, and here's your chance to own it. Hey, I'm Steve Magnante in Bogart, Georgia at the Tony Townley Collection, where on October 24th and 25th, Richmond Auctions will be selling about 100 or so special interest vehicles, including this 1939 Ford 5-window business coupe. Now, of course, 1939, first year for hydraulic brakes after years and years of mechanical brakes on Ford. So 1939 brought the hydraulic brakes, as they call them, juice brakes, hot rodders did, and basically hydraulic fluid versus rods and cables to stop this car. 4-wheel drum brakes. a very capable car. Flathead V8 under the hood, 221 cubic inches, probably about 90 horsepower. This one is stone stock right down to the wheels, no hot rod parts here. Original paint. It's been restored, but with that said, it presents as it would have in a Ford dealership showroom back in the day. Dual windshield wipers, which are an option. These are vacuum actuated, but there they are. And nicely restored interior, 4-speed manual transmission onto the floorboards. And most importantly, this is a business coupe, so basically no back seats. Rather, it has a massive trunk, or deck lid, as it were. You open it up here, and it's just a big old place. Word is that moonshiners used to like these as vehicles to transport their moonshine and run from the revenuers. Probably just a rumor, who knows? But anyway, that's the example, that's the story about this one here. 1939 Ford 5-window business coupe. Check it out and bid on it on October 24th and or 25th when it hits the block. Hey, I'm Steve Magnante here in Bogart, Georgia at the Tony Townley Collection, which on October 24th and 25th of 2025 will be sold by Richmond Auctions. About 100 plus vehicles will be sold, some very special material, one of which is this 1939 Lincoln Mark K Willoughby Sport Sedan. It's a 4-door, but basically it's built for an executive to enjoy being driven about in on his way to and from business deals, etc. And it's a major Lincoln, as it were. This has the 414 cubic inch Lincoln V8. It's a 60-degree narrow V, unlike the earlier engines used in Continentals and Zephyr, so it's a different family of Lincoln V12. With that said, it's a 12-cylinder engine, 414 cubic inches. It has dual side mounts right here, which were an option for sure, but that we have 2 spare tires and gracefully contoured into the fender right here, both sides. They hide in plain sight, very pretty. And of course, the Lincoln Greyhound mascot right here on top of the radiator shell, beautifully rendered, and a beautiful restoration, excellent paint and chrome condition on this one here. And going back, we see the 4 doors, of course, big front seat, 3-speed manual transmission, which is fine. Most cars were manual transmission at this point. And of course, the back seat is wide. There's also a desk there to do some work on, a little liquor cabinet, and glass holders in the B pillars. And again, a beautiful example of a Willoughby Sport Sedan, 1939 Lincoln Mark K. Bid accordingly. Hey, I'm Steve Magnante here in Bogart, Georgia at the Tony Townley Collection, which will be sold on October 24th and 25th by Richmond Auctions. And I'm here now with a 1939 Lincoln Zephyr. Now, these are groundbreaking cars, styled by Bob Gregory, one of the great stylists at Ford in this period of time. And of course, inspired by Henry Ford II, he was the one who kind of got behind the idea of streamlining the Ford lineup and the Lincoln lineup. Now, streamlining means that the car goes through the air with minimal resistance, and we see streamlining in the form of glassed over headlights, of course, a prow here, and of course the waterfall grille, things that sort of give it the appearance of moving while not moving. And of course, things like concealed running boards right here that kind of hide in plain sight. You open the door, there's a rubber padded running board right there, but all these things were baked into these cars. And again, streamlining was embraced by Ford and Lincoln with cars like this one here. And this one has the V12 engine, which is not the flathead V8 plus 2 cylinders, but rather what this is, it's a 75-degree engine with 267 cubic inches, so it's a very narrow V, not a 90-degree like the flathead V8. So again, 12 cylinders under the hood of the Zephyr. And this has a raked windshield. That was another part of the streamlining motif. And again, the windshield usually was more vertical, but on these cars it was raked back, which was pretty much a style trend-setting configuration in 1939 when this car was new. This car has been beautifully restored, and it sells on October 24th or 25th here at the Tony Townley Collection, which will be sold in its entirety, again, by Richmond Auctions. Hey, Steve Magnante here in Bogart, Georgia at the Tony Townley Collection, where on October 24th and 25th, Richmond Auctions will be conducting a 2-day auction of all of the vehicles. About 100 plus vehicles will be sold. And one of them is this 1942 Chevy half-ton pickup truck. Now, you might remember that World War II started in 1942, and by government decree, vehicles built for civilian use were to be ceased. Production was ceased. This is one of the last Chevy pickup trucks built in 1942 before the war interrupted production for military use only. So it's a great example of how they looked in 1942 as things were just beginning to heat up in Europe and the Asian front, as it were. But a nice restoration, tasteful black and red two-tone presentation, red wheels to match the upper body, and stock rebuild, no V8s, nothing like that. This is basically a very nice restoration. The 215 cubic inch Stowbolt 6 under the hood, nicely detailed and restored, 3-speed manual transmission, torque tube suspension, all of it very original to what this was built as. Inside, of course, the 3-speed manual, a bench seat. And if you want some cool air, well, there's a cowl-mounted flap right here that you turn a handle and it opens up to get some cool air inside the cab as you motor down the road. And a nice example here of what they looked like back in the day. Has a nice wood stake body on here, short bed, step side. And again, a nice restoration, very tastefully done, high quality, total restoration with photographs to document the process of this vehicle's restoration. So bid strong. Hey, I'm Steve Magnante here in Bogart, Georgia at the Tony Townley Collection, where on October 24th and 25th, 2025, Richmond Auctions will be selling off about 105 or so collector vehicles of many descriptions at auction. Once again, one of the special ones to my eyes is 1943 Ford GP. Don't call it Jeep. Now keep in mind the GP stands for General Purpose Light Vehicle, as in military nomenclature for use on the battlefield, built to win World War II in so many ways. This one was built on January 7th, 1943, so the war was well underway when this one was put together. Not sure if it saw duty, I'm not sure, but it's beautiful, pristine restoration. And again, this is a Ford Jeep, not the type that was built by Kaiser Willys or Bantam before that stuff. Ford made millions of these things, as did Jeep for that matter, but you can tell the Ford ones for a variety of things. They all have fasteners with the F script on them on the end of the bolt head, and lots of little things too. The military Jeeps are also unique because they have riveted wheels, and of course other details. The front and rear axles, rather than having a stamped steel inspection cover, these have cast metal inspection covers, which are less likely to be punctured on a battlefield or by a bullet or whatever, a rock, whatever it might be. Other things that are unique to the military Jeeps are the covered lights right here, and into the shields, the shrouds right here to prevent people from up top seeing the light as you go down the road. And other things include canvas upholstery on the seats, front and rear, very austere, not quite the Levi's edition Jeeps of the 1970s. This is very much more Uncle Sam edition. We have manual wipers. It's up to the GIs inside to work the wipers, no motors, no vacuum, nothing, very basic, rudimentary. And again, simplicity is the rule of the game on the battlefield, if you will. And of course, here's the canvas upholstery, and of course olive drab on all of these things, which didn't reflect light, as well as gloss black or other paint colors. So again, nicely restored. It has the jerry can on the back, the correct wheels. Everything about this is pretty much very correct for a 1943 built Ford GP. And yeah, Ford built Jeeps as well as Willys. So to bid on this one, Ford built Jeeps just as much as Willys did. Bid strong. Hey, I'm Steve Magnante here in Bogart, Georgia at the Tony Townley Collection, which we sold by Richmond Auctions on October 24th and 25th in its entirety. The collection consists of about 100 plus special interest vehicles and collector cars, one of which is a 1945 Ford F1 pickup truck. This is something special. Got to remember, 1945, U.S. was still at war, and as a result, vehicle sales to the general public were prohibited by law. Well, instead, you could still buy vehicles if you were in the military or a car manufacturer for internal use. This is what we call a blackout special. Notice there's no chrome trim on the wheels. These would have had stainless steel. They're painted here. There's no glitz here, no chrome there. And again, chrome was a strategic material in World War II, and use of that was limited strictly to military purposes. Of course, the chrome along the arch of the hood is also painted, and that's correct for it. And on the front here, the headlight surrounds are also painted, as are the blinker surrounds, as is the grille, the ornament here, and even the hood latch. Everything is painted. And the blackout affects the bumpers here, which are blacked out with paint, versus the chrome you'd see on a normal Ford F-Series pickup truck at this point in time. Even the windshield molding is natural rubber. No stainless steel around here, just regular rubber. And in fact, pretty austere. One wiper on this one here. And even the rearview mirror, blacked out. Again, the blackout special. These are very uncommon. This one here is beautifully restored, and it's actually spent some time at the Henry Ford Museum in Dearborn, Michigan. It's that nice. And beautifully restored inside and out. Once again, no chrome trim front or rear, but something under the hood is kind of a surprise. This is flathead powered, V8, and something special that didn't come from the factory is this Scott supercharger. You might wonder what's a Scott. Well, it turns for a supercharger company of Turin, Italy, and that's the supercharger which bolts to the top of the flathead. Now that's a factory, not a factory, it's an aftermarket, like a day two modification, but it's a correct vintage piece of speed equipment. The rest of the engine's basically stock, cylinder heads are stock, but again, two Stromberg 97 carburetors on top of the Scott supercharger. So it probably adds another 50 horsepower or so to the 90 this would make normally. But again, a little piece of hot rod flare under the hood. Otherwise, very austere and beautifully restored and preserved to what it would have looked like straight out of the factory in 1945 when it was purchased by Ford Motor Company for use internally. So that's the story of this 1945 F1 Blackout Special.